I discussed with all of you yesterday, every time I drive to and from the station, I pass Wave Country right off of Briley Parkway. And I said that, well, there are actually two of them. The two tall water slides at Wave Country. I am concerned about the structural integrity of those water slides. And today I noticed something as I was driving by Wave Country. I think it's the first time I've driven by Wave Country and have actually witnessed somebody going down one of those water slides. And as fate would have it, the water slide stood. So maybe I shouldn't be worried about the structural integrity of those water slides. You still won't catch me dead on either one of those water slides, but at least they seem to be holding up. So
that's good. That's good news.
Credit where credit
I thought
is
the thing
due.
was. I thought the place was closed. I feel like every time I've gone by it, I don't see anybody buzzing around over there. So I'm glad to know it's operational.
I think I made it a point when I was driving by. All right, I'm going to look and I'm going to see if anybody's actually there. And I saw a lifeguard on top of one of the tall water slides, and I saw somebody going down the water slide. I think it's the first time I've ever witnessed it. So it makes me feel a little bit better. I still won't go down it, but at least I know it's not going to crumble to the ground. Joe Rexrode will join us in about 15 minutes to talk some college football with us. Dom Luszczyszyn of The Athletic. By the way, let me spell Dom's last name for all of you if you have not encountered Dom's work at The Athletic. Luszczyszyn. Pronounced Luszczyszyn. He is going to...
So it's a shiz.
I believe it's a Luszczyszyn.
I thought it was more of a Luszczyszyn, but I'm going to go with what...
Well, we can ask him when he comes on the air in about an hour.
Luszczyszyn.
Well,
I thought it was Luszczyszyn.
Luszczyszyn.
But we're close. We're close.
We're close enough, and he can correct us. Yesterday, we had Aaron Schatz on the program from FTN Fantasy. His last name is spelled Schatz. And he made sure to tell Connor before he came on the air, my last name is pronounced Schatz, not Schatz.
He told me like 3 times.
Yes, I made sure to practice that myself. But either way, Dom will be coming on the show at 4 o'clock. He wrote an analysis on The Athletic about which NHL teams improved the most this offseason. And guess who came in at number 1? Your Nashville Predators. So we'll discuss that and more with Dom at the top of the hour. But both major local professional teams made news earlier today. We'll start with the Tennessee Titans, who announced that former running back Chris Johnson will be inducted into the franchise's Ring of Honor during the team's season opener against the New York Jets at Nissan Stadium on Sunday, September 13th. Of course, a few weeks ago, Johnson revealed that he is suffering from ALS, and the team will honor him in week 1 at Nissan Stadium against the Jets. Amy Adams Strunk said in a statement, quote, Chris Johnson holds a special place in the hearts of our organization and our fans. His stats speak for themselves, and he will forever remain a leader in our record books. But the man behind the yardage deserves just as much celebration. We look forward to welcoming him home on September 13th and officially inducting him into the Titans Ring of Honor. Willie, I think it's a no-brainer, even before we learned of the unfortunate diagnosis. Chris Johnson absolutely deserves a spot in the Titans Ring of Honor.
Yes, this is a nice move by the Titans to move forward. And I think there are times where you feel like, a little more time goes by and you almost look back in appreciation more. But I think we were just maybe getting into that timetable, and now with the announcement, it's even more reason to say let's move forward and do it, because hopefully CJ can come in, enjoy the day, be honored the way he deserves. As you get more removed from it, that 2009 season, and really the special year that the team had the season before, those 2 seasons were really amazing to watch. Not that he didn't. It was anticlimactic after that because he had 4 more consecutive 1,000-plus yard rushing seasons. But 2009, 2006 yards rushing, and another 503 receiving. It was just phenomenal to watch week in and week out. So that season alone could get you there. But 6 years, every single year had 1,000 yards or more. Very, very much deserving of Ring of Honor, regardless of his current health situation.
Chris Johnson will join Bud Adams, Elvin Bethea, George Blanda, Robert Brazil, Earl Campbell, Jeff Fisher, Eddie George, Mike Holovac, Ken Houston, Billy White Shoes Johnson, Mike Heath, Bruce Matthews, Steve McNair, Warren Moon, Mike Munchak, Jim Norton, Bum Phillips, Floyd Reese, and Frank Wycheck in the Ring of Honor. Also, Dave McGinnis, the late Dave McGinnis, will also be inducted into the Ring of Honor at a home game later in the season. But congratulations to Chris Johnson, a slam dunk member of the Titans Ring of Honor. Again, he will be inducted into the Ring of Honor during the Titans season opener against the New York Jets at Nissan Stadium. The Nashville Predators also made news today. Well, it was actually the San Jose Sharks who made news, and it was Predators related. The Sharks announced today that Jeff Kelty has been hired as assistant GM of that organization. Jeff Kelty was basically an original member of the Nashville Predators. I don't know, Willie, you tell me. I'm not sure if Kelty was here for the first season, but he's basically been here for the entire lifespan of the franchise.
If my memory serves correct, I believe he was in the very first training camp trying out for the team and suffered a concussion somewhere early in the process, and that basically ended his career as a player, but was respected enough to get picked up by the organization and join the staff. And he's been with them ever since, and he has ascended up to assistant general manager status. And I think he had just a tremendous run, just a classy guy. You've dealt with him. You know, he's more of a behind-the-scenes guy. He's not outgoing. I'll bet a lot of the Predator fans, despite how long he's been with the organization, may not have had much interaction with Jeff Kelty, but just a solid guy. And the way I look at it, you know, he's been with the Predators so long. You've got sort of a change in regimes. You've got a lot of new people coming in. Another one joined them today. So Chris McFarland is clearly bringing in guys that he's comfortable with. McFarland certainly had enough faith in Jeff Kelty to have him continue to run the draft. I don't think he was getting pushed out the door by any means, but at the same time, I think Jeff Kelty probably is sitting there going, okay, where do I stand long-term with this new crew coming in? And let's couple that with where the Sharks are. The Sharks are an exciting young franchise right now where the arrow is pointed up. He's already got a bunch of dynamic guys in the fold. The general manager for the Sharks is Mike Greer. Jeff Kelty, I believe, was a college teammate of Mike Greer's at Boston U. They are very, very close friends. I know that. And so that had a lot to do with it. So I think it's like maybe a happy parting the ways. The social media post suggests that. You know, it wasn't like Jeff Kelty's no longer with the organization. You know, sometimes it's not as ceremonial. But I think this kind of shows that both parties seem to be pretty happy here with how this has gone.
As the Sharks detail in their news release announcing the hiring of Jeff Kelty, Kelty served over 2 decades with the Nashville Predators. He recently finished his 8th season as assistant GM and director of scouting. In total, Kelty was in charge of the previous 18 drafts for Nashville dating back to 2008. And as you said, Willie, this is, in terms of job title, a lateral move for Jeff Kelty. He's basically going to be doing the same role in San Jose as he has been doing recently in Nashville. But for all of the people, including myself, for all of the people who clamored that the Predators needed some fresh blood in the front office, you've gotten your wish this offseason. Brian Poyle, no longer a member of the organization. Jeff Kelty, now no longer a member of the organization. I believe Scott Nickel is the elder statesman in the Predators front office. But Chris McFarland brings in Rob Blake, among others, Jamie Langenbrunner. It's a completely new front office, with the exception of Scott Nickel. So for Predators fans who have been wanting the team to quote unquote go outside the family. And I count myself in that group. I've been talking about that for quite a while. That's exactly what Chris McFarland has done. This is really, truly a fresh set of eyes on the Nashville Predators. B-Man on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com, says, wait, what? D-Mace isn't in the Ring of Honor? Come on, Titans, do better. I heard our very own Connor Newt with Nick Frazier and Jake Lyman this morning on Next Man Up petitioning the Titans to get our man D-Mace into the Ring of Honor this season.
We're campaigning. We're going to make signs. We're going to put them outside Nissan Stadium. We're going to march outside the Titans front offices. It's going to happen.
Gator Tim says, the Titans Ring of Honor has a ridiculous amount of members for a team that hasn't won anything. Well, it stretches back to the years of the Houston Oilers. It goes back way back.
See, that's maybe where I don't want to. I mean, every team should have their own way of doing whatever they want to do to honor former players. I thought at the beginning, my understanding was the old Oilers, Kenny Houston and Northrop, some of the guys go way back to the early AFL days in the 1960s. I thought that was like its own little place in the stadium, the Oilers Hall of Fame. And the Ring of Honor was being saved for the most significant and probably angled more towards the Tennessee part of the franchise. That's what I thought was happening, because when they did the Ring of Honor, the night that they inducted Steve McNair, Eddie George, Frank Wycheck, I was there that night. It was, I think, a Monday night game, if I remember correctly. It was a night game. I thought, well, what a great idea. That's the best of the best in that stadium. So when you listed all those guys, I didn't realize that all of the old Oilers were in the quote Ring of Honor. Because you are gonna run out of room after a while. You still got a lot of places to play, but I mean, you have to start a second ring. It's like the Stanley Cup, right? How many rings are you going to have?
That's true.
That's what you have to think about when you do these things, for better or worse. I mean, some people don't really worry about it that much. It's got nothing to do with whether you win or not. To me, it's every franchise wants to honor their great players.
But I agree, B-Man. Derek Mason is long overdue to be a member of the Titans Ring of Honor.
Well, this is the trick. Like if these other guys are in the Ring of Honor, then there's absolutely no doubt that Derek Mason should be in that Ring of Honor.
And he didn't tell us to say this for him, by the way.
No. Well, it's pretty obvious.
I know. We just love him very much. 615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on Chris Johnson becoming the latest member of the Titans Ring of Honor. We'll also take your thoughts on Jeff Kelty leaving the Predators front office after more than 2 decades with the organization. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, our very own Joe Rexrode of Robbie and Rexrode will join us as we talk some college football. I know Joe Rexrode loathes football media days the way that I do, and many of you do. And I want to know what he thinks the worst of media days has been so far. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D Mace, Vingan and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you, efforting our very own, I should say, Joe Rexrode. I'm in charge of music today. The theme, songs that remind me of summer.
I thought it was my turn today.
Well, I have been waiting since Wednesday for my
Connor,
turn.
Did you not tell me? Oh, he's trying to get Rexrode.
He's trying to get Rexrode.
He's multitasking.
It would have been, you would have had it 2 weeks or 2 times this week, but Lightning had other plans.
Yes, I was supposed to have my turn the day the lightning struck the building. So I've been waiting patiently for my day. But
see,
you know what?
I think it's a conspiracy. I was talking about this last Friday with D Mace. He and I had the show, and somehow I just feel like I have not had the two-day week. And conveniently, I'm going on vacation next week, so I'm going to get hosed there.
Maybe
I'm not getting my tunes in.
Okay.
I think it's a conspiracy.
Okay.
I think you guys
I was
are
about to give you mine next week.
Well, Connor and I will be alternating next week as we will be hosting the show next week.
That was a good song, by the way.
Thank you. 311,
Nice
Amber.
pick. Yeah.
What's
the theme?
Songs that remind me of summer. Like when I think back to being a teenager, growing up at the beach, songs that remind me of going to the beach, driving to the beach, hanging out with my friends at the beach. And I'm not a big 311 fan generally, but I do like that song, Amber. So every time I hear that song, it takes me back. Also, Rexrode, where the hell are you, man? Answer your damn phone. Oh, Rexrode. There was some breaking NFL news. While we were on break. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I think it's Rob Mott. Oh, wait, hold on. We'll get to that. Do we have Rexrode? We indeed have our very own Joe Rexrode of Robbie and Rexrode. Thank you so much for joining us, Rexrode. Thank you for answering your phone.
Yeah, sorry about that. My bad.
That's
Bad
okay.
out here.
Matthew from Jolton also says Joe is also a massive Michigan hater. I mean, that comes with the territory. Michigan State man over there.
I mean, it's just part of it.
Yes. So,
You know, I think we've been very fair in calling them the dirtiest program of all time.
oh, man. All right, Joe. I know you loathe football media days. And we have sort of started a segment on the show called The Worst of Media Days. And right now, the runaway leader is the gentleman who brutally mispronounced the word tortilla at Big 12 Media Days while asking a question to Brett Yormark about Texas Tech. I know that you've been keeping up with what's been going on at Media Days. What is the worst of football Media Days so far for you?
Yeah, well, that whole interaction was pretty bad. I guess maybe I'd give it to Dabo. We talked a little bit about him today, but I hate to. I mean, he's like an obvious target, and I feel like it almost gets old to rip on Dabo. But I must say, I saw that Paul Feinbaum said today he's stuck on stupid. I mean, the reminding people of like how good things used to be is very old. So it's not really. I don't know if that necessarily qualifies for what you're talking about, but I do. It is an eye roll. And also, I noticed that Bill Belichick said, asked about international games, well, I do remember the Super Bowls I used to coach in. And it's like, guys, we know that you used to be good, and let's talk about now.
So, Joe, yesterday we were having a conversation about Vanderbilt SEC Media Days starting next week in Tampa. Jared Curtis, unsurprisingly, will not be among the Vanderbilt players representing the school at SEC Media Days. But Pete Nakos of On3 predicted that Blaze Berlowitz will be the starting quarterback for the Commodores. It did not specify whether he meant for the entire season or just to start the season. But I am curious for your opinion on how Vanderbilt should handle Jared Curtis. If you were in Clark Lee's shoes, what would be your process? Because we all know that Vanderbilt fans want to see the kid play. He is the highest rated recruit in program history, but we also know that Clark Lee, he's not going to throw Jared Curtis into the deep end before he's ready. How would you handle Curtis if you were Lee?
Yeah, I think he's just got to handle. I think he's just got to handle it honestly, like he handles everything. And if the team knows that Blaze is clearly better, as of late August, I don't think you ignore that information. I mean, I think where it gets tricky potentially is like if that's the case all year, you in this day and age, you always have to worry about, well, okay, he may like it here now and everything may be going well, but he didn't play as a freshman, so you have to worry about losing someone, right? So, and look, I think he's too talented to. I'd be really surprised if he's not the starting quarterback at some point this year. But I think it's also not shocking if the mistakes are a little bit too plentiful during his first camp, and Berlowitz, who has been working his way to this opportunity, is a little bit better. I mean, I think we're probably going to see both of them. I think at both of these. I think at Tennessee and Vanderbilt. I think we're going to see both quarterbacks in these competitions, and I think we're also probably going to see both freshmen eventually emerge. Look, I do think that with Berlowitz, I mean, he's an intriguing player too, and so maybe you could get into some sort of thing. You think back to when Michael Wright was a freshman and Derek Mason kind of used him as like a goal line guy. Like, could it be some kind of like a role for both guys all year? Maybe. I think eventually he'll have the job, but I don't think that like you said, Adam, you don't throw in the deep end, you don't rush it, there's no need to be, you just let it kind of happen as it comes. It would be very surprising to me if he doesn't play a lot of football this year.
Joe Rexrode with us. We're sort of setting the table for the week to come with the SEC Media Days. Joe, as recently as the beginning of last year, maybe it was last year at the Media Days, Paul Feinbaum had the real sarcastic laugh and he knew Diego Pavia would say something provocative, but when Pavia said, "We're going to win the national championship," it was lampooned, right? So we still know that Vanderbilt was fighting the stigma of its history in football, even going into last year. What do you think will be the vibe this year now that Pavia is gone, and what's a reasonable expectation for them in 2026?
It's a great question, Willie. Honestly, I think I just don't know. It's just so hard for me to set expectations for Vanderbilt. First of all, the vibe, I think you're going to get a lot of, and this happens, but I think it's probably especially noticeable at Vanderbilt. I think you're going to get a lot of, okay, now life after Pavia, what do you do now? Clark Lee, what can you do without Pavia and all that? So and I understand that. I think there's still a lot of really good football players there. I went to a spring practice and I was impressed just with the amount of talent on the field. I think you forget how many good players are returning, and they got a lot of good players too. Like you have to do now. They added a lot of talent. So to me, like if Vanderbilt, but of course with the quarterback situation, without certainty there, with still a schedule that could be very challenging, it's just hard to know. I think it's a really fascinating year for them, but to me, it's like if you can get 6-7 wins, and I know maybe that sounds like old Vanderbilt, going for, but I think that would be a really good bridge year. If you get out of this year, you've made a bowl game, and I think maybe more importantly, you've developed Jared Curtis, and you feel really good about where his trajectory is at the end of the year. I think that's a big success. But I mean, if Vanderbilt, you tell me right, someone tells me right now Vanderbilt's going to go 4-8 this year. I mean, that'd be disappointing, but I'm not shocked out of my mind. Someone says Vanderbilt's going to win 9 games this year. Same thing. I mean, I think the range for them is wider than a lot of teams.
And I think that's reflective too of the NIL era, right? There's going to be a lot more swing from year to year, especially within a league as balanced as the SEC. So with that in mind, Joe,
yeah,
what do you think? What's reasonable expectation for Tennessee, especially with their quarterback situation?
Yeah, and I think on paper, and a lot of times we do this in college and the NFL. and even with the NFL, like with a lot more known commodities, but we look at a team like, oh, this team has the second toughest schedule. This team has the 29th toughest schedule, but it ends up, those schedules, the difficulty of those schedules look totally different by the end of the year. But Tennessee, to me, looks like a harder, and they've got a brutal schedule. And, I just, a very different situation also to me with, like, I don't think Josh Heupel's on the hot seat, but I think Josh Heupel is on the pre-hot seat if it goes poorly. Obviously, they built a lot around Chaz Coleman on the edge. That their defense really needed that to be a shrewd move and a successful one. Of course, he's not going to play. So you look at all the losses on the edge, a place that used to be just an embarrassment of riches for Tennessee is pretty barren. But also, I really like their talent. I think this offensive line could be really good. Their skill position players. There's a lot of returning production. So I think it would be really disappointing if Tennessee doesn't win at least 7. And I know 7 would be disappointing to a lot of people too, by the way. So I'd probably pick them right now to go 8-4. But it's also like, okay, so tell me about these quarterbacks, right? I mean, that's what makes it so interesting. I mean, if you lose your primary edge player, and you have the questions about that on defense, you have a good new defensive coordinator coming in, but then you have this uncertainty in this quarterback battle. I mean, it could be disappointing. We also know though that Josh Heupel has been able to, for the most part, get quarterbacks to play at or above expectation, and he's had quite a few of them. They've all done pretty well. I mean, case in point, last season.
Joe, we know that the LSU Ole Miss storyline will be front and center next week. We certainly hope it gets spicy. That always gives us some fun things to chew on in the summer before you really get down to it. But I want to ask you about how you feel the process should go, whether it's a big rivalry like LSU Ole Miss or any other two schools. When a player leaves from one school to the other and basically owes money to the school he's leaving, shouldn't there be a process ethically how that works? How do we iron that part of it out? Because that's at the forefront of that rivalry right now.
Yeah, no question. And I mean, part of the problem is these contracts that dance around the fact that people are being paid to play for schools, right? So, I mean, to me, Willie, it's first of all, I love like the idea of almost like the transfer fees that people talk about, like in soccer. I mean, like something like that. But I mean, in terms of just being more solid contractually, so that these things are pretty, cut dry. I mean, that's we get back to collective bargaining. We get back to just calling this what it is, and then under these contracts are much more clearly written. Then I think they're a lot easier to enforce. I mean, short of that, like you're just gonna. It's like with everything. Oh, so this injunction, for the basketball players in Ohio. Okay, so they've got the injunction. Now they're trying in California. Like you're just up to the judgment of judges, and you just don't know for sure what you're going to get. I mean, I think until you bring order to the system with, again, the laborers participating in the process, then you're going to, you have some of these silly things we do, like paying all these people at the CSC to try to enforce things and approve deals and not approve them. And while a lot of schools aren't even giving them stuff, they're just ignoring the process altogether.
All right, Joe, we're going to have a little fun later, perhaps, with nostalgic SEC quarterbacks from the past. I realize you're more of a Big Ten guy. Adam's more ACC, so it may not be in your wheelhouse. But we're just thinking back, guys who were fun, effective quarterbacks in the SEC, but are much more known for that era than what they did at the next level, right? So, you can't say Peyton Manning or somebody like that, right? Somebody who went on to be a great NFL player. Do you have one that pops into your head?
Okay.
I mean, the field is wide open. You can do one from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago.
Right. Well, I mean, Florida had quite a few guys who we were kind of surprised that they didn't do much in the NFL. So I do think of like the fun and gun offense. I mean, I don't know. Am I cheating to say Danny Werfel? Is that cheating? I mean, he won the Heisman. You know, is that
You're taking the low-hanging fruit, but I think he's eligible. I mean, I think that's a fair answer.
Yeah, but it is. You're right. It's sort of like, it's not one of those, what you're thinking about, like one of those like obscure, you know, because I think back to, I mean, but Heath Schuler, that's a hard one too, right? I mean, Heath Schuler actually.
I think I've got a Florida one for you.
Okay.
What about Chris Leak?
Chris Leak is a good one. Yeah. They won the national championship with Chris Leak. But he was not the front and center.
At that point, it was Tebow was only a jump pass dude at the goal line.
Yes, a freshman.
When Chris Leak that Chris Leak is a good one.
Multiple texters say Eric Ainge.
Eric Ainge. Okay, yeah, that's good.
Okay, Eric Ainge is a good one. Because you know, look, I like this isn't going back enough, probably, but I mean, Kyle Shermer was a really good player for Vanderbilt, right? I mean, I know he had a cup of coffee in the NFL, but
right, it doesn't make him ineligible. Like a player like that who maybe played on a practice squad or got on a roster for a couple years, that if he's just much more known for his days in the SEC, that's good. Shermer, I think, definitely would qualify.
How about Jay Barker?
Jay Barker
was a fun player, right?
Yeah.
He was fun.
Okay.
And his daughter's a good hooper now.
Good to know.
Yeah, right. Sarah, I believe Sarah. She was their leading scorer last year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, those are the ones. Those are some that
that's a good start. I think you've definitely got the ball rolling here on the process.
Why can't I remember any Auburn quarterbacks other than Cam Newton? Like I'm trying to think of like Auburn quarterbacks.
Connor, can you help Joe out? Anybody?
They're incredibly forgettable.
Bo Nix, but Bo Nix has turned into a pretty.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good pro quarterback. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like the Pat Dye era. You know,
Stan White would be one.
Okay, there you go.
I think Stan White was the quarterback when they went undefeated but could not be on TV. Do you remember that year? Or that might have been Tommy Bowden was the coach that year.
Okay, yeah.
Post Pat Dye. I think it was Pat Dye that got him on probation, but like back in the day, Joe, our younger listeners like, what are you talking about? You weren't allowed to be on TV. They were on probation. They had like closed circuit TV was the only, they could not be on ESPN or anything because they cheated, but they went undefeated. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Bowden was like national coach of the year, but people, they couldn't play for anything. They couldn't play in the SEC championship. That's a good one. Like I'm trying to,
but not Tommy Bowden. Who am I thinking? Who was the coach? It was the other Bowden.
It was Terry.
Terry Bowden.
It was Terry Bowden. Yeah, Terry Bowden. Yeah, but I'm like, who was handing off to Bo Jackson? Like, I just don't. For some reason, I'm just drawing a blank.
Randy Campbell.
Now Jason Campbell was the quarterback in 2004.
Right.
That team went undefeated, but got iced out of the BCS. And of course, he was a high pick. But okay, sorry. So I feel a little bit better. Feel a little bit about Auburn.
Okay, we got it going. Yeah, we got it going.
Legends of the game, Jared Lorenzen, of course. You can't forget him.
Shout out to Connor's Wildcats. One of Sports Talk Radio's favorite games. Let's remember some guys. Our very own Joe Rexrode,
especially in the summer.
Yes, our very own Joe Rexrode has been our guest on D. Mace, Vingen, and Donning. Of course, you can listen to Joe and Robbie Stanley every weekday from 6 to 9 a.m. Joe, have a wonderful weekend. We'll be tuning in bright and early on Monday morning.
Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
615-737-1025. Like I said, if you want to kill time as a sports fan, a Sports Talk Radio host, just play Let's Remember Some Dudes. I mean, it's...
You know what we need to do? We need to get a theme song called Let's Remember Some Guys or something. A buddy of mine, I didn't know about these things, but when you think about it, AI and the music and everything, you can just like write a song, send it to AI, and they'll make a song.
Let's remember some guys.
You're going to love Where Are They Now, Willie?
Which we will play later in the program. Yeah. Willie's maiden voyage on Where Are They Now? 615-737-1025. We'll hit some odds and ends on college football Coming up next, Dom Luszczyszyn, I'm going to really butcher his name multiple times, of The Athletic will join us at the top of the hour to talk some NHL. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game, Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. Before we had Joe Rexrode on, I was about to share some NFL news. The NFL has suspended Arizona Cardinals personnel executive Ryan Gold indefinitely for violating the league's gambling policy. The league said Friday that its investigation determined that Gold provided confidential, non-public inside information regarding 2026 draft selections by the Cardinals before the picks were announced. And Gold also participated in parlay bets on NFL and college games. The league didn't say who Gold had provided with the information. And as we continue to talk about the proliferation of gambling in sports, these sorts of stories, Willie, are inevitable.
I think we're just scratching the surface. I think I'm surprised there haven't been more to this point, but I think as we go forward, there will be more. The temptation of being able to beat the system with inside information, it's an obvious thing that a lot of people have. And I always wonder how many people have done something like that, tested it out, maybe been smart about it, where you keep it really subtle. You only do it like one time just to see if you could get away with it and then go from there. I have to believe that a lot of that has gone on, that as well as they police some of these sites to try to keep it fair, that some stuff has to slip through the cracks. Don't you think?
For sure. And speaking of gambling, Brendan Sorsby, when I saw this story, I wish I was surprised, but I wasn't. The Texas Tribune reported earlier this week that Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, before he waded into the Brendan Sorsby saga, he received a donation of $274,300 from Cody Campbell, one of Sorsby's most public defenders, big Texas Tech booster, the day before Paxton sent a letter. They were suing, right? They were threatening to sue Texas Tech, right? Or I'm sorry, they were threatening to sue the Big 12. I'm trying to remember the details here. Paxton warned the Big 12 conference on behalf of Texas Tech. The day before, he received a nearly $275,000 donation from Cody Campbell. That's the story. I spit it out. But it just, again, unsurprising.
Cody Campbell is famously the guy, or infamously the guy, that said something like, if it were, I forget what school he used, but Florida or Auburn or LSU, if they had done what,
I think it was LSU.
I think it was LSU that did what Texas Tech was trying to do with Sorsby, nobody would have thought it was a story. Remember he said that on something? I mean, okay. I mean, Cody Campbell, you have more money than you can count, I guess, and this is your hobby. You like to throw it around like that. Okay. How does Texas Tech view him? Is he going to continue to be what he's been for them, which is a guy that has really elevated their ability to go get players? I guess so.
Let me rephrase all of that, because I definitely stumbled over.
Like, was it illegal for him to do that?
I don't think so, unless it was a quid pro quo. I will donate this hefty sum of money to you.
Well, I guess you can't prove that, but it appears that that's kind of
in a June 11th
I'll
letter.
Do this so you can. Yeah.
In a June 11th letter writes the Texas Tribune. I'm having a hard time speaking in this segment. Paxton's office warned the Big 12 Conference on behalf of Texas Tech that any move to sanction the university for fielding Sorsby would be unlawful and potentially expose it to $200 million in damages. One day before he sent that letter, Texas Tech Board of Regents Chair Cody Campbell, one of Sorsby's most public defenders, donated $274,300 to a fundraising committee supporting Paxton in his bid for U.S. Senate.
I mean, you could argue that was a quid pro quo. You could argue that.
You could argue.
You would have trouble proving that.
Right. But the circumstances are a little suspicious. Yeah. But of course, what's funny about this in hindsight is this move backfired spectacularly on Brendan Sorsby, because the Big 12 countersued Paxton, Texas Tech, and then I think that same day is when Sorsby said, "Yeah, I'm out." If I remember,
pulled the plug on the whole
right. If
operation.
I remember the timeline correctly, so
right after the big powwow where the Texas Tech brass came out and said, "This is our This is what we're
the
doing.
27 and a half minute video
right.
that we discussed.
I
Where
wonder what they did with that video. They're like, can we take that down? And he's out to 275 either way, right? He doesn't get that back because Sorsby is no longer playing.
right.
So I guess he's really helped out the campaign.
We'll see
With the
how that
funds.
goes. But the internet lives forever. You know this. We all know this. That video will live in infamy in college football circles forever. 10 years from now, somebody's going to post that 27 and a half minute video or however long it was of all of the Texas Tech people trying to defend the decision to keep Brendan Sorsby on the roster. It will live in college football lore. Let's just
Indeed.
put it that way. I know that Rexrode and Robbie had fun at Dabo Sweeney's expense earlier today, talking about Dabo Sweeney yelling at his critics about how far Clemson has apparently fallen, how I have a national championship. How many people can say that? I know that Dabo Sweeney had an outstanding run with Clemson over a 4 or 5 year stretch, but things have not been going well for Clemson. In fact, I heard a spicy debate a couple of weeks ago on Next Man Up between Parker Kelly and Corey Curtis, where they bet on whether Dabo Sweeney will make it through the season as Clemson's head coach.
I would be on the side of he'll make it through the season.
I believe it was Parker who said that Sweeney won't get fired, and Corey Curtis said that Sweeney will get fired.
He'll get fired?
Corey Curtis predicted that
This year.
Dabo Sweeney will be fired
Come on.
this season.
Dabo Sweeney.
Yes, the very same.
No.
There's an In
Can't
Vogue
see it.
song with my answer.
Oh, yeah. Never gonna get it. Never gonna get it. That
Not
one?
gonna happen.
Okay.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
now,
that was
correct me if I'm wrong. Dabo has tried to stay with his formula, right?
Right.
This sounds familiar, right? A lot of coaches who have done it a certain way, been really successful, and their world has been rocked by the NIL transfer. They haven't leaned into it. They've tried to hold the line, thinking that this will pass, right? This first wave of everybody firing money to everybody, the chaos, it will calm down, and we'll have our foundation. So far, there's no question it's been hard for him to maintain it, right? Especially with the expectations of that school in that league. I don't blame him for getting defensive. I guess that's the thing. When he does that, though, media-wise, gets all defensive, it doesn't come across well, right? I think you have to stay confident. You have to stay very, icy cool, even-keeled during the storm and explain yourself. I still don't think it's out of the realm that the madness does calm down after a while. I think kids are going to get tired of going to 3 schools. I do think maybe the system is going to work itself out where it's not as easy to transfer. I don't know, but I really do hope. I admire Dabo for trying to say, I'd like a little bit of normalcy in this crazy world.
615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on college football. SEC Media Days starts next week in Tampa. And we, by the way, will have all of your coverage of SEC Media Days. It's brought to you by Shaneco, Tri-State Water, Power, and Air, and the Music City kickoff game featuring Ole Miss taking on Louisville September 6th at Nissan Stadium. You can get your tickets today at NashvilleSports.com. Coming up next, Dom Luszczyszyn of The Athletic will join us. He wrote a story using his proprietary statistical model that the Nashville Predators had the best offseason of any team in the NHL. We will ask him about that and more coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game, Willie, Donick, Adam, Vingan, Connor, Newt here with you. Derek Mason, enjoying a well-deserved vacation. He'll be back the week of the 27th. In the meantime, let's go to our phone line. Driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com, and welcome in the Athletics' Dom Luszczyszyn, who reports on the NHL. Hello, Dom. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're doing well. Thank you so much for joining us. So yesterday, you published a story on theathletic.com detailing which NHL teams improved the most this offseason. I think you caught a lot of people by surprise, including yourself, when your model said that the Predators added the most value of any team in the league so far this summer. So let's start here. How would you evaluate Nashville's additions, most specifically the acquisition of Maverick Bourque?
I would call it a large pile of mid, and I think that is why I was surprised and why everyone else was surprised. It was a lot of middle six forwards. I think Maverick Bourque is the most intriguing of everyone they added because he has top six upside and he might have the opportunity to flaunt it in Nashville. But there obviously isn't a lot of marquee names coming to Nashville. But it worked out really well because of who they're replacing.
Along those lines, as you said, Dom, you wrote in your story that the reason why the Predators offseason rates so highly, according to your model, is because the incoming players are substantially better than the outgoing players. But even with the major improvement we're seeing in overall value, where do you rank the Predators' overall roster league-wide? What does your model say?
It's a bit tough to say because I don't think they're an above average team yet. Before this offseason, I thought they were pretty well positioned to be a bottom feeder, maybe challenge for the lottery and not have a very great season. And all of this did enough to make them competitive in the West, where I don't think there are even three good teams in the Pacific. And I think that after the top four in the Central, they can be competitive with St. Louis and Winnipeg and Utah as well. So they have a chance to make the playoffs just by virtue.
Dom, you wrote a story about a month ago for The Athletic looking at the anatomy of a successful rebuild. And that is a conversation we have been having here for a very long time in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
I am a staunch proponent of the Predators undergoing what we would call a traditional rebuild. They have been doing some remodeling over the years, but the Predators have never truly bottomed out the way that most rebuilds historically start. Tell us what you found as you searched for the keys to a successful rebuild. And if you were advising new Predators GM Chris McFarland, based on your findings, what would you tell him to do about the direction of this team in the near future?
So I think the first thing is to define what a traditional rebuild is. I think you see a lot of teams being bad, sometimes on purpose, sometimes by accident, but they don't accumulate enough value at the draft. So I think what I found was that a large majority of the teams that have won a Stanley Cup over the last 20 or so years have had at least 3 top 5 picks over a 6-year span. That is what I would call a traditional rebuild. I think it's what most people would agree with, looking at the top teams around the league. Even Carolina, who may be not as traditional in the sense, they qualified and they didn't necessarily hit on those picks, and they kept building, and eventually it worked through savvy management. But across the board, I think that's what you need. And there's ways to fight against the current and still be a competitive team. I've liked what Washington has done over the last 3 years, and they've identified real needle movers. And as much improvement as Nashville should see from this offseason, the lack of actual guys like that, difference makers, makes it a little tougher to go the Washington route. And it's frustrating because the Predators also had all these players that were very good but not elite. that they could have used to jumpstart a rebuild, accumulate a lot of draft assets and futures, and they held on to them instead. I didn't like that they extended Saros and traded Askarov away. Askarov hasn't been great in San Jose, but it just shows the philosophy that I can't see working. And right now they're just pushing themselves further and further towards mid. So even though it was a successful offseason where they improved a lot, I don't know if it's the direction they really should have went.
Dom Luszczyszyn is with us from The Athletic. Some really good stuff that he's been writing over the summer here. Dom, let me ask you one more about your rebuild philosophy here in your study before we yo-yo back to the Predators here. You've got some interesting ways. Like, for example, you still consider Edmonton in a rebuild going back to 2010. Is that am I reading that right?
I'm calling it ongoing because they haven't won yet, but they still have a chance to win. They're in their contention window, and the rebuild started whenever they got their first top 5 pick, which I do think was 2010 or around there. So that, I think, is the one that people point to and say, you can't do a traditional rebuild. Look at Edmonton. They haven't won yet. Look at Toronto. They haven't won yet. Look at the Islanders or Coyotes. They did something similar and they didn't win. But there are a lot of teams who did. And if you look at the opposite plan of all these teams retooling and trying to stay competitive and building a 10th best roster in the league, it just has an even worse success rate. So it might, a traditional rebuild might not work, but the alternative is seemingly a lot worse.
So I wanted to ask you about one in Carolina. I see them as pretty unique on how they've built the team. And so they had some lean years, as we know. I think before Brindamore got there, 8 or 9 straight years of missing the playoffs. But I didn't see a team that is loaded with those high top 5 picks where they just were awful for a long time. It was a different journey. Like, it looked like the ownership was an issue. They might move, for a while. So it does seem like everybody's a little bit different on how they get into this window.
Yeah. I think with Carolina, one of the keys is that because they did have those picks, because they did have those lean years, they had a lot of assets to trade and make moves. So they turned one of those I think 2 of those top 5 picks, because it was Lindholm and Hannafin, into Dougie Hamilton. And that didn't work out, but it made them a more legitimate team, a more desirable team, but just a bit of a domino effect where you do have to sink to rise above it instead of fighting the current, as Nashville has done. It seems like for 5 or 6 years now.
Dom, back to the Predators, because you make an interesting point in your assessment of the players that they have added, and the good character guys. A lot of times that coaches and GMs say, we want to bring these character guys in. They're hard workers. They're great team guys. Sometimes the analytics have people like you saying, "Oh boy, this is great and everything." Yeah, they make some hits. They'll fight a little bit, but their value really isn't very good. And I feel like that has been the knock on some of the Predators' bottom 6. What's unique about this group, and I think you point this out, is the analytics for a Ross Colton, a Jack Drury, even a Höglander have been an upgrade here. So how much do you think that is a needle mover collectively with those guys?
I think so. Everyone can talk about great rooms and intangibles and all those things, but it's usually found most with winning teams, winning organization. It always feels better to win, and winning generally comes from having a stronger collection of good players. Obviously, there are some players, even in bad situations, who make it better, and not knowing enough about these guys, they could be. I mean, you have Colton and Drury coming from a winning organization. I think that could be helpful. But if the Predators aren't a good team next year, which they may not be, it's hard to create that environment anyway. So it is a bit tough.
So I guess my question for you, what has been because I would consider myself more of a C student in the analytics. I really try to learn. I read a lot of your stuff. I understand some of the basic metrics like expected goals for. So let's just take that. let's just take a Ross Colton, plays for the Avalanche. He's on a team with Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon and some elite players. And his expected goals for his play driving looks good. And so that looks like something that Chris McFarland wants to bring over to Nashville. Well, he's playing with a different set of top guys. So what have you found in the past when players like that change teams? Can they keep that profile of a good set of play driving? Does that translate from one team to another sometimes?
Sometimes is the best way to put it. And with Colton, you got to hope that Nashville did their due diligence. And obviously McFarland's the boss now. There's no one better to do due diligence there, where I think the thing with Colton is, was he helped by the team he's on, or was he blocked because there were so many great players ahead of him? And I do think there is an element to the latter. Same with Drury, where I think they can be considerable players. And my goal with what I do is I try to account for the team they're on, who they play with, who they play against, and hope that it translates as best it can to another team, another situation. But you truly never know until it actually happens what will actually happen. So I have hopes that Colton can be a decent third line player. I think he was buried a bit on the fourth line in Colorado last year, but we won't see until he puts on the Preds jersey and we find out for ourselves.
Another big story around the league is the change in the market, right? Just now we have a new guy that's making $18 million a year and he's 21. That there's circumstances with that, but everybody, because the cap has gone up so fast, is making more money. So a couple of quick questions for you, Dom, based on the way you evaluate players. What do you think Ryan O'Reilly's next contract would look like, given that he's got one of the best bang for your buck contracts right now? He's in his mid-30s. I don't think he's going to stop playing. You're going to hear his name a lot probably throughout the course of the season with trades and things like that, possibly. So what do you think his next contract looks like?
It's tough with the age. I think that's the biggest thing with O'Reilly. He was exceptional last year, and he still looks like he has it as a high-end 2C or low-end 1C. And we saw a player with a very different profile, but kind of similar value in Trevor Zegras just signed for $9 million. So it wouldn't be a shock if O'Reilly came in at a similar ballpark. Maybe there's a difference because of his age. But that's where I would expect. Right now, I'm at a park because my service doesn't work in my apartment, so I can't fully check for you. But that's my guess, is around $9 million. And I'll message Adam and tell him if I was right or not later.
Interesting. All right, how about Luke Evangelista? Another guy that is different stage of his career, restricted free agent next year. Adam and I were kicking around the idea, should they try to jump out and grab him long-term now, especially with their roster not having a lot of guys at his stage, 24 years old or so. So what he's easily going to get a big pay raise for sure. But what is it looking like for him?
They really should have done that last year. I think that would have been great. I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league right now. And I think because a lot of his value comes from play driving rather than scoring, that whatever they do end up signing for will end up being a pretty good deal. I think, if my memory serves, I'm looking at all the contracts now in preparation for a different article, that I have Evangelista's value somewhere around $7 million for next year. So on an extension, if the cap is going up and he's in his prime and he's probably only getting better, that could end up being a very, very high number on my end. But I think because his comps probably don't score as much, it could end up being lower. So I think it'll be a great deal no matter what he signs for. We'll see if the cap rising has an effect, and I do think it would be a great idea to sign him this summer before he does more damage next year.
Dom, before we let you go, as someone who is clearly locked into the analytical side of the game, we're just starting to get to know Chris McFarland as the head of the Predators front office. So just based on your contacts throughout the league, based on all of your research, where does McFarland rank in the NHL in terms of being analytically driven?
It's really tough to say from the outside, but I it's hard not to love what Colorado has done over the last decade or so, and McFarland has been a big part of that. And I think one of the encouraging signs is he brought one of his analytics guys over from Colorado, Dawson Springs, as the assistant to the GM. And I think that partnership is going to play a big role in what the Predators are doing. And having that relationship and showing investment like that, I think means that it is something that he values a lot. And I think that'll serve the Predators really well.
Dom Luszczyszyn of the Athletic NHL has been our guest on D. Mace Vin Gnadonic. Of course, you can find all of his work at theathletic.com. Dom, we appreciate your time. We'll have to do this again soon.
Thanks for having me.
615-737-1025. You can react to what Dom had to say. 615-737-1025. We will continue the conversation and take a deeper look at Dom's analysis. Again, he wrote a story for The Athletic yesterday. Which NHL teams improved the most this offseason? The Nashville Predators added the most value of any team in the league this offseason. We'll dive deeper into that coming up next. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. D-Mays, Fingen and Donick, 1025. The Game. Willie, Donick, Adam, Vingen here with you. A big thank you to our friend Dom Luszczyszyn of The Athletic for joining us on the program.
Great
man.
insight.
That is a tough last name to pronounce and spell. Godspeed, Dom. That's why everybody refers to him as Dom. Just Dom.
Just Dom.
Just Dom. But he does do a fabulous job analyzing the NHL. And the reason we had Dom on the program is because he published a story for The Athletic yesterday with the headline, which NHL teams improved the most this offseason. And he had the Predators at number 1. So Dom has this incredibly fancy analytical model, a proprietary model. I even struggle to understand it, and I used to work with the guy, but he is as sharp as a tack. And he said the Predators added the most value of any team this offseason by bringing in Maverick Bourque, Ross Colton, Jack Drury, Niels Höglander, Alexander Kerfoot, and outgoing players, Eric Haula, Zachary Leroux, Fedor Svechkov, the notable outgoing players. And Dom writes, quote, "If you're surprised by Nashville landing in the top spot, that makes 2 of us. It's admittedly a weird result given the headline addition is Maverick Bourque, a top 6 tweener who scored 41 points last year. Good player, but in a summer with some big names changing addresses, Nashville is an odd choice to lead the pack. While no one Nashville added moves the needle in a considerable way, the 5 players they did add are substantial improvements over who they will replace. Nashville had some of the league's worst forward depth entering the summer. The Predators have addressed that admirably. A bunch of third-line additions isn't that meaningful in a vacuum. Replacing a bunch of fourth-liners and sub-replacement level players with those guys is. Nashville's forward group started the summer in the bottom 5. It's a lot closer to average now." First of all, Willie, is that a fair assessment of the Predators offseason by our friend Dom?
Well, what term have I used a lot? Each time they have made a move that has led to this assessment, right? It's all at forward right now. They haven't really touched the D yet. I still feel like they would like to do that. So the offseason isn't over yet. But the term I used was getting better on the margins. Is that not just this is a collective getting better on the margins? And if you put it all together, he's got them number 1. I think the needle mover is Bourque, potentially. But the other guys, if you got 5 guys that all are upgrades on the guys that were playing last year, this is all on paper until you actually see the people interact and mesh and learn the system and play it the right way. But in theory, that could mean quite a few points for a team that wasn't a bad team last year by the end of the season.
What's interesting to me is I'm looking at the full list, 1 through 32, which NHL teams improved the most, 1 being the most improvement, 32 being the least improvement. The Predators are number 1. I'm looking at other teams in the Central Division. The Colorado Avalanche are at 29. They lost a lot of value, including Jack Drury and Ross Colton, right? The St. Louis Blues are at 24. The Dallas Stars are at 20. The Minnesota Wild are at 18. So the Predators have improved compared to those teams they've improved a lot more. But what I'm wondering is, have the Predators closed the gap enough with the departures from the Avalanche plus the additions to the Predators? Are they any closer? I still think the Predators at their best are probably around a league average team. The Avalanche, even with all of their loss of value, are still going to be contending for the Central Division. But what I'm wondering is, have the Predators closed the gap in any meaningful way based on Dom's analysis?
I think they've closed the gap when you consider Bourque goes directly from the Stars, where he was playing a significant role, to the Predators. And Bourque has not been replaced by the Stars. They're going to have to replace him internally. They don't have the money to go out and get somebody else, it doesn't look like. You took a couple of very important role players from Colorado. Colorado isn't really able to replace them. So there's a lot on Zach Leroux and Fedor Svechkov. Will they get the same out of those guys? Well, that's what they're hoping for. This is all in theory. right now. So we won't know the answer to that. I do think they've closed the gap. And when you're Dallas and Colorado and Minnesota and you're pushing the envelope, you're trying to win an arms race, you're trying to win it one time, and you've mortgaged a lot of the future, you've used up your cap space, it costs you in depth. So I think what we're going to find out is how much is depth worth. If the Predators have become a deeper team, and that means more production over a long period of time collectively, I don't think any of these guys, with the exception of Bork, are going to come out and wow you with a great year where they score 20, 25 goals. But if they all are better than the people they replaced, if they do some of the little things better, then that can mean more points for the team. Now, we got to keep it in perspective. Are they contending for the Stanley Cup? They've said themselves that they're not. But can they have a really good year where they're developing younger players and they're a year closer to having Igor Surin in there? Brady Martin's a year older. You're bringing on that next wave. And in the meantime, you have a little fun and maybe make the playoffs and knock somebody off in the first round. That would be a feather in your cap. And this is how they're going about it. I'm still curious to see if he's able to do the same type of thing on any level to his defense corps, because that's the other thing he has even said, Chris McFarland, that he would like to tweak a little bit.
Dom has gotten back to us about his contract values for Ryan O'Reilly and Luke Evangelista. So Dom's model tells him how much a player's market value should be.
Right.
According to Dom's projections, Luke Evangelista's cap hit is in the ballpark of $8.5 to $9 million
in this new market.
Yes, according to his model. We talked about a contract projection of $7.98 million the other day. Dom's model has it between $8.5 and $9 million, which again is going to shock some of you that Luke Evangelista could make more or as much money as Philip Forsberg. But Philip Forsberg signed years ago in a much different cap environment. This is how things are going. He says Ryan O'Reilly, 9.3 per year on a 3-year term, $9 million on a 4-year term. So around $9 million per year on O'Reilly's next contract. He says top comp is, funny enough, a rich man's Mike Fisher.
4 years. That's an interesting. That would be a
4 years, $9 million. 3 years, $9.3 million.
If you're the Predators and you're in the camp, and this is what we really don't know yet about Chris McFarland, but I think the more, as I've always said, the more you're around Ryan O'Reilly, the more you want him in your building. You want him on your team. So would you think about a 2-year extension if it's 9 point something? They're not going to be up against the cap. They have a huge amount of space in the coming years. I mean, most of the Matt Duchene buyout is gone now. And even someday you can see the end of the Kyle Turris payout, right?
Yes.
It's within striking distance, and it's not that much money, especially now that the cap is way up there. It's only $2 million. So they don't have a lot of dead money anymore. The big chunk was Matt Duchene. So even though you might, the sticker shock is still a little bit, even for you and I, $9 million for a guy that's been making $4 million. Is it a bad investment to say, let's keep control of him for 2 more years and then we'll continue to dictate if and when the right time is to trade him?
Matt Duchene, by the way, owed $1.555-ish million for each of the next 3 seasons. Kyle Turris owed $2 million for each of the next 2 seasons. So
right,
about $3.5 million in dead money, which in this cap world really isn't all that much. Let's go to our phone line driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Adam in Portland. Adam, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
I'm just glad the new GM doesn't love all of our old players like this. Like, he doesn't have his heart tied to these guys. And I want to know, dude, like, how can you even assess this new group of players that we have if Bruno's still the coach? Like, if we come out and they're trash, are you going to blame those players? Because I think we have a terrible coach. And I could be wrong on that. I think Barry thinks he was awesome, but Barry's no longer there.
Well,
so
why do you think he's a terrible coach? Adam, make the argument.
Man, what has he done besides one little run where they were super hot? And I even told you that year, Willie, I was like, let's see what they do after they lose a game. And then they've not been the same since. So besides that, how has he not picked that team off the ground? So how can you assess bunch of new mid dudes who are going to need a coach to push them, whatever. I think the coach is terrible, dude. Like, I can see them starting flat. I cannot see them starting hot. And I want them to. Like, I want them to be good. The Fred sucking is a bad time for me, especially with the Titans being, on the rocks too. So I want them to be good, but I'm just saying, I don't see how you do it with that coach.
Thanks, Adam.
Well, to me, the other side of the coin on that is what Dom just explained, is that, and let's use the words that Dom used, you're replacing, quote, a bunch of fourth liners and sub replacement level players, and we're talking about 5 or 6 guys. So that's a forward group. Let's just say this is just at forward. 6 of your 12 guys on a given night are fourth liners / sub replacement level players. Now, Michael McCarron, Cole Smith, 2 of the guys that would be in that group, right? Very gritty, get the most out of their ability, but they weren't going to win you a lot of games offensively. They had to rely on some of the other guys. That does make and then you also had the group of players like Reed Schaefer, Ozzy Weisblatt, Joachim Kemmel, just to name a few, Fedor Svechkov, young players, Zach LaRue, that were not ready to pop, right? They were hit or miss on a given night, inconsistent at best, didn't have a lot of big games. Can you tell me off the top of your head, Adam, can you think of a lot of games where any of those young players won them a game?
Not very many.
Maybe 1 or 2 where they had a nice game. But by and large, those guys weren't making any plays to win you games. So it had to be the aging group of O'Reilly, Stamkos. So I would argue that's a really good coaching job. That's my assessment, that he made about the most of what you could make. And once again, is he responsible partially for the bad start? Yes. But he also has to be given credit for being left for dead and then pulling that group out of the fire and getting them into the last week of the season with a chance to make the playoffs.
Here's my stance on Andrew Brunette, and I've mentioned this on the show. So because Adam brought it up, I'll bring it up myself. I've questioned if Brunette is the right coach for this group, but the one thing I've never questioned is whether the players on the team have quit on Brunette, because there have been multiple instances over the past 3 seasons where if the players wanted to quit on him, they easily could have. Things were spiraling out of control. When the Predators were the worst team in the league around Thanksgiving last season, they could have kept that death spiral going if they wanted to get rid of Brunette. But the fact that they were able to stay in the playoff race until the bitter end, that doesn't happen to a team that has quit on its coach. So I'm not concerned that they've tuned him out, but if he gets off to another bad start this season.
Well, we know that. We know that's a given. If he gets off to a bad start, he's not going to survive. But this is why I'm curious about Dom's article, because analytically, if they have a leg up with these new guys they've come out, and Bork is the guy that might even be a guy that could be a difference maker someday. But if they're just collectively better than the guys they're replacing, and you have this young crop that you hope will start making their mark over the next year or two, that gives Andrew Brunette more to work with. The only question then would be, because last year too, you didn't get a Roman Josi year out of Roman Josi. So what you tell me that Ryan O'Reilly is going to have an injury and misses 30 or 40 games? So that's a whole game changer, right? It's still tenuous because you're relying a lot on older players. But I do think that it's probably overlooked how much, I don't want to say dead weight, but guys that had shortcomings, and let's go back to Dom's description, fourth liners and sub replacement level players. That was the net result of a lot of guys that they had, right? And you're squeezing out as much juice as you can from a guy like Michael Bunting, who's still a free agent, good hard-nosed player, but limited. He's got a specific skill set, not a play driver. Eric Halla is who he is at this stage of his career, right? Not a huge needle mover. These are the guys that Andrew Brunette was trying to make it work with. Have they upgraded that section of the roster? If they have, then I'd like to see what that looks like. You could see significant improvement based on that.
615-737-1025. All right, coming up next, it's time to play the game show that has swept the city. Not yet the nation. We'll start with the city, but it's on its way to sweeping the nation. Where Are They Now? A Connor Newt special. Willy Donick has never played Where Are They Now? And we both think that he's going to be really good at it. So we're going to do it next. 615-737-1025. 1025 The Game and Borchetta Bourbon present True American Racer, the Bobby Rahal story tonight at the Franklin Theater. Celebrate the career of an Indy 500 champion with rare footage and a live Q&A featuring racing legends. Get tickets now at franklintheater.com. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willy Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. If you listen to our weekend show featuring our very own Connor Newt, you know that there is a game show that is sweeping the city. In fact, Brandy on our text line says, Where Are They Now is my favorite. I play it with my friends now. Dylan says, I love that game. I listen to it on the weekend show. You're in for a treat if you haven't played. So, Connor, as the creator of this game, explain the rules of Where Are They Now?
Yes, thank you very much. So this was a game created by myself and Nick Frazier, and Jake Lyman helped out a little bit in the origins of it. But Basically, Willie, what we do is we will give a career path of a player across any sport, current, active, or past. Your job is to figure out what that player is. So, for example, I'll just do an easy one real quick. If I were to say a basketball player that played for the Cavs, then the Heat, then back to the Cavs, then to the Lakers, you would say
LeBron.
There you go. And then we'll go around. I'll do it. There's not really
So it's not really where they are now. It's where have they been?
yes, but it was called Where Are They Now because it was different. We used to do it like, all right, I'll give you the player. You tell me what league they're playing in. And it got really, really complicated.
Okay.
So we just kind of kept the name because it rolls off the tongue.
Gotcha.
But we'll all go around. So I would advise you to come up with 2 or 3.
Do we have?
Oh, I have to give out a couple.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We'll each take turns. Do we have any game show like music we can play?
I will play the music we play every weekend.
Okay, let's do it. I'll go because I have someone in front of me. We will start. Thank you, Connor. We will start in the association. Of course, the NBA. Magic, Bucks, Clippers, Sixers, Pelicans, Mavericks. Let me read it to you again. Magic, Bucks, Clippers, Sixers, Pelicans, Mavericks.
No idea.
Is this a Duke guy?
That's probably a good guess.
Yeah.
I think you can surmise by my
Your silence is golden.
response.
Let's see.
JJ Redick.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
There it is.
Good job, Willie.
That
was the clue that I
J.
needed.
Redick. All right. Connor, you got one?
I do.
All right. Willie, you look up one while
Okay.
Connor gives us his.
In honor of Mr. Willie Donick playing with us today, I have gone to the Diamond and found us one.
Okay. Now we're talking.
Chicago White Sox, Pittsburgh Pirates, New York Mets, Baltimore Orioles, Florida Marlins, Los Angeles Dodgers.
Bobby Bonilla.
There you go.
Didn't even hesitate.
I knew he'd be good.
Welcome to the game, Willie Donick. All right, Willie. You got one?
Well, I was trying to multitask, but I had to focus.
Oh, yes.
Let's see if I can get a good hockey one here.
All right.
Let's look at. I got. If you have another one, go because I need to come up with one here.
All right. I've got another one. We'll keep it with hockey. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Pittsburgh Penguins, Chicago Blackhawks, Los Angeles Kings, Detroit Red Wings, Utah Mammoth Hockey Club, Calgary Flames.
All right, run through them again.
Pittsburgh Penguins, Chicago Blackhawks, LA Kings, Detroit Red Wings, Utah, I think they were the Mammoth at this point, / Utah Hockey Club, Calgary Flames.
So Utah to the Flames.
Utah
That had to be last year.
to the Flames. It was last season. By the way, as you think about that,
He was involved in a big trade.
he was involved in the trade. While you're thinking about that, one texter says on your Bobby Bonilla answer, Willie is an effing machine.
I knew he would be, especially if I gave him baseball.
Yes.
Well, that era of baseball,
Yeah.
Yes.
in particular.
But you are correct. This player was involved in the trade last season. He played for 2 teams last season, the Utah Mammoth and the Calgary Flames. He is, here's a hint.
Who did they pick up from the
He
Flames?
is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. He won the
Oh.
Stanley Cup here in Nashville, not for the Predators, but for the Penguins. Connor, any guesses?
I rely on you two. For
One
that.
Ian
texter,
Cole.
one texter has it correct.
Ian Cole.
Ian Cole is incorrect. The correct answer is Oli Mata.
Good.
I believe Mata was involved in the Mackenzie Weegar trade. Yes. So it was Oli Mata,
Very nice.
2-time Stanley Cup champion.
one.
All right, Connor.
All right, I got one.
Willie's got one.
Hockey. Minnesota Wild. LA Kings. Arizona Coyotes. Colorado Avalanche. Washington Capitals, LA Kings.
Hockey's not my strong suit. when it
Okay,
comes to
I'm
this
thinking
game.
specifically of the Avalanche to Capitals to Kings section.
So you have to give the teams in chronological.
Yes.
Yes.
Chronological.
Okay, repeat it again.
Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
LA,
Mm-hmm.
Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
Washington,
Mm-hmm.
LA. Back to LA. Do you want it? Do you want a hint?
I would like a hint.
Stanley Cup champion.
I'll tell you what my
Not a forward.
Okay, I'll tell you what my first guess was, but I don't think this is correct. My first guess was going to be Phil Housley, but I don't think I don't think that's right.
Current player.
Colorado to Washington. Oh, Darcy Kemper.
Yes.
Okay.
Darcy Kemper.
I should have known that.
I didn't. I would. The next hint was going to be a goalie, and I
Yes.
thought you would get it pretty easy at that
Yes.
point.
I was
Okay.
thinking Jonathan Quick, but I didn't hear New York in there. So
Nice.
Okay. Who's got one?
I got one.
All right.
We'll go to the gridiron here. 3 teams: Seattle Seahawks, New York Jets, Tennessee Titans.
Say it one more time.
Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, the safety.
Jamal Adams.
Jamal Adams. Yeah.
No.
Oh.
What? He is what? He did play for those 3
But in
teams.
the wrong order. But in the wrong order.
Well-
he went Jets, Seahawks, Titans.
Yes, and then he went to the Raiders. A
Oh, okay.
Oh.
little bit older than Jamal Adams.
Hmm.
Older. Okay. Seahawks first, then Jets.
Yes.
So Seahawks, Jets, and what's the third one?
Titans.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Current day or retired?
Retired.
Retired player.
Retired and then got into coaching.
Seahawks, Jets, Titans.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Ooh, Hall of Famer.
Do you want a position?
Yes.
Offensive line.
Seahawks, Jets, Titans. So it's not Steve Hutchinson.
I think one texter has it. I don't know the answer, but I think one texter has it. So I'll rule myself out because I saw the text line.
Jets offensive lineman. To the Titans, Hall of Famer? What am I missing? I'm stumped. I'm
It
going to
is-
kick myself.
It is Kevin Mawai.
Kevin Mawai.
The
of course,
texter has
of
it
course,
correct.
of
The
course.
texter has it correct. All right, I've got another one. Also, in the NBA,
Oh, here we go.
Oh, boy.
Memphis, Houston, Toronto, Miami, Philadelphia.
It's not Shane Battier.
It is not. This player did not. This player did not play for Duke this time.
Okay.
Memphis, Houston, Toronto, Miami, Philadelphia.
Kyle Lowry.
Bingo. Good job, Connor.
Ooh, impressive.
Just retired, I believe, Kyle Lowry.
I think he played for Charlotte at some point there too.
I-
Maybe he didn't play, but he was on the roster.
Yeah, maybe he was traded. He's not listed here. I'm only counting teams he actually was in games for.
That's the move.
Yes. All right, Willie, do you got another one?
Yes.
All right.
All right, let's do this one.
We got time for a couple more.
Okay.
The suspense
Carolina.
is killing me. For what sport?
Hockey.
Okay.
Carolina, Calgary, Vegas.
Noah Hannafin.
Yes.
That's a good one.
All righty. Connor, you got one?
All right, I'll go to hockey here.
Okay, let's do it.
Nashville Predators,
We'll each do one more.
Ottawa Senators, Tampa Bay Lightning, Detroit Red Wings.
Nashville Predators. What comes after Predators?
Ottawa Senators.
Predators, Senators, Lightning,
Mm-hmm.
and
Austin Watson.
There you go, Willie.
Ah,
Look
good-
at him
Good
go.
for you, Willie. All right. Want to do one more? All right. Let me see.
I need one more baseball one.
All right. Well,
But I mean, to throw at me, I won't hit you. What
I
do
can find
guys-
you one. I can find you one.
yes. We'll do two more. I'll do one. Connor will do a baseball one for you. All right. We'll keep it to hockey. We will keep it to hockey. And I'll try to find a player. I'll try to find a player who had ties to the Nashville Predators. All right, here we go. Are you ready?
Oh, we're ready.
All right. Chicago Blackhawks, Nashville Predators, St. Louis Blues, Buffalo Sabres, Arizona Coyotes. Chicago Blackhawks, Nashville Predators, St. Louis Blues, Buffalo Sabres, Arizona Coyotes.
Blackhawks first. Then the
Blackhawks, Predators, Blues, Sabres, Coyotes.
I was about to say Beauvillier.
I got to think of
Not Anthony Beauvillier.
Blackhawks, Preds, Blues.
Is it Nick Cousins?
It is not Nick Cousins.
There's some other stops for Nick. He's been in a lot of different places.
Yes, he has. Do you need a hint?
Yes. In the interest of time.
A natural interview could be an excellent broadcaster.
Carter Hutton.
Bing, 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 bing. Thanks for having me, guys.
Good job.
Indeed, it was
Willie,
Carter Hutton.
I have a baseball.
All
one.
right, let's
Unless
wrap
you
it
know.
up. Let's
Okay.
wrap it up with baseball.
Okay. We're going to go. Began with the St. Louis Cardinals, Minnesota Twins, Philadelphia Phillies, New York Mets, San Francisco Giants.
I'm sitting this one out. I want to see if Willie can Rain Man this thing.
All right. Cardinals, Twins,
Yes. Phillies,
Phillies,
then to your Mets, then to the Giants.
ugh. Current player or retired?
Retired. Won the World Series in 1982 with the Cardinals.
Ooh. Okay, so Cardinals, 82. Then to the Twins, then Phillies, then Mets.
Yes.
Tommy Herr?
It is Tommy Herr.
Okay.
Wow.
Look at Willie go.
All right.
And that was Where Are They Now? If you want to continue to play this game, you can do it whenever Connor and Nick Frazier host.
I could see that as a good road trip game.
It is.
You know, you're killing time on a road trip. You're bouncing it off. You know, maybe you're stuck in the terminal.
It's a fun time.
Yeah, good time kill. I like that.
Connor and Frazier play that every weekend on Weekend Huddle. And next week, Connor and I will be hosting the show. Oh, we're going to be playing some Where Are They Now on the program.
Just don't throw too much hockey at me.
I'll try not to. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, the World Cup final is this weekend. Prices are outrageous, as you might imagine, for that game. So I have a fun question for all of you at 615-737-1025. How much would you pay / have you paid to see your favorite team attempt to win a championship? 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, Connor Newt here with you. Derek Mason on vacation. He'll be out next week. He'll be back Monday, July 27th. You know, D-Mace, he needs some rest and relaxation before training camp starts. He's not participating in training camp, but we'll be talking a lot about training camp, of course. And Connor and I will be hosting the show next week, and we have some fun plans ahead of Titans training camp, which I will share with you later this hour. But Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. on Fox, the World Cup final, Spain versus Argentina at MetLife Stadium, the shadow of New York City, East Rutherford, New Jersey. And let's play a fun game. We just played Where Are They Now? Let's play another fun game. Willie and Connor, can you tell me, according to ticketdata.com, what the current get-in price for the World Cup final is?
This is just to get in, like anywhere in the building.
Current
like, way
get-in
up top.
price for the cheapest pair of tickets.
Are we prices writing this?
Yeah.
So this is per seat?
It says current get-in price, the number per ticket, including fees.
Per ticket. Okay.
Yes. The current get-in price per ticket, including fees.
We did this during the NBA final in a smaller building. This is a big stadium, but you've got huge fan bases. It's the World Cup final. I'm going to say, just to get in the nosebleeds, 3,500.
Connor?
I'll double that. I'll go 6,000.
The current get-in price, according to ticketdata.com, for the World Cup final is $8,805. $8,000.
That's just to get in.
It says the current get-in price
Good.
on
nice.
ticketdata.com, $8,805. Now, yesterday, Front Office Sports published a story about this, and when they published the story, the get-in price was around $7,300. Immediately after Argentina's win over England, prices rose roughly 5% before falling to about 3% above the pre-match price. But today, at this very moment, the get-in price for the World Cup final is $8,805. Josh says, oh man, I thought you were about to say you have a pair of World Cup tickets to give away. Trust me, Josh, if we had tickets to give away, we would not be giving them away. You would have to pry them out of Fraser's cold, dead hands. But yes,
True fact.
8,805 simoleons to see the World Cup final on Sunday.
If I had told you that before the tournament started, would you have believed it?
It's a good question. I guess it would depend on which teams were competing in the World Cup final. And Argentina versus Spain, I can understand why the prices are that high.
But I think it would be similar if
it was France or England.
I think so at this point. Norway, like it could be different for Norway. Like Norway's had unbelievable fan support. I guess that's what probably has impressed me the most about all the venues in 3 countries. You know, they had games in Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. I don't think I've seen a single game that wasn't packed to the gills. Like I didn't see empty seats anywhere for any of the games.
I had a friend attend World Cup games in Dallas and Atlanta. And I did not ask him how much money he spent on those tickets. And I can't remember which games they were. I think they were in the group stage. But I had a friend fly to Dallas for a match, and he drove down to Atlanta for a match. So I agree with you. I mean, the atmospheres in all of these venues, especially those here in the United States, the atmosphere has been fantastic. But it got me thinking, as a fun way to wrap up the week, 615-737-1025. How much would you pay, or how much have you paid to see your favorite team attempt to win a championship? 615-737-1025.
So it's the championship game. So it
It's
could
the
be
championship game.
not game 1 of the World Series, but a game where you could clinch the World Series.
Yes, let's call it
Okay.
that.
Stanley Cup final, NBA
Yes.
final,
In
Super
the game,
Bowl.
in the game, whether
Okay.
it's game 7, game 5, the Super Bowl, your team has a chance to win the title in that game. How much have you paid, or would you pay? to see your team attempt to win a championship. I mean, remember the prices for Game 3 of the NBA Finals. The Knicks weren't able to win the NBA Finals, of course, in Game 3. They lost that game. Let me ask you this, Willie. How much would you pay to see your beloved Mets win the World Series?
But we don't know if they're going to win, right? It's a chance to go to a game where they could win.
Right. You are walking into Citi Field for Game 6 of the 2037 World Series.
I will say
with the Mets up 3 games to 2.
Well, inflation 2037. So we got to play as if it's today.
Let's play today. That was more of a Mets joke because they're not going to make it to the World Series for a long time.
I see. I don't appreciate your lack of faith. I would say around 1,000.
You would pay $1,000.
I would pay 1,000, and maybe in the moment I could stretch it a little bit more, but I just can't see going much higher than that.
One texter says that they paid $1,700 a ticket to see the Buckeyes beat Oregon in 2015. Worth every penny. Would have been a dumb decision had the game gone the other way. And that's something that you have to...
Right, you could lose.
You've got to factor that into your analysis. Now, I have never attended a national championship game or professional potential championship winning game as a fan. My father has certainly paid top dollar for Duke tickets in the national championship game. I have no idea how much he paid. He probably wouldn't tell me, but I have to imagine it wasn't cheap. For me, generally speaking, I have a hard time imagining paying 4 figures for a ticket of any kind.
Well, this isn't of any kind, though. We're talking about a championship.
Yes. But to me...
Because I'm with you. I generally am not just going to fork over a ton, but I have been caught up in road trips where you're like, I got to go to the game.
Right.
So let's buy tickets, whatever they cost.
I feel like my upper limit, even for a championship game, would be around $900, $900 to $950. There's just something about the 4 figures. They're like, I can't pay that, even if it means witnessing my favorite team win a championship.
So Duke in a Final Four, Duke in the finals,
Duke in the national championship
for 1,000.
I think I'm topping out. I think I'm topping off around 900.
So your offer is 900 to the scalper, and he says, you get 1,000. You got it. You're going to say no?
Make it 999, and you've got a deal, my friend.
Okay, so as long as we don't go to 1,000,
right? 4 figures.
It's the visual.
There's just something about that just I can't get myself there. Yeah. Connor, how much?
I could go over 1,000, but not by much.
Connor, how much would you pay to see your beloved Wildcats win the national championship?
I'm with both of you. It's hard for me to imagine 6 figures. That would be really bad. 4 figures. But if it came down to it and I had a very good suspicion that they were going to win, I think I would pull the trigger. It's a once in a well, maybe not for me, but I've seen it before, but it's a lifetime achievement of mine to go see the Kentucky win a national championship. My father's done it. I want to do it. So when we get there, I don't know if we ever get there again. I fear I've peaked as a sports fan, but I would, if I had to, I would get to the 4 figures.
I'm trying to remember how many of Duke's national title games my dad has attended. He was there for the first one, that I know. He was there in 1991. I don't know if he was there in 1992. He was definitely there in 1999 when Duke lost to UConn, because I remember him calling home crying. That's like one of my first vivid memories as a sports fan, is hearing my dad, who never really shows emotion, crying on the phone when I was like 10 years old because Duke lost to UConn in the national title game. Adam in Portland says, I would pay $2,000 a piece to have me, my wife, and my 3 kids see the Titans win a Super Bowl. $2,000 a piece. He said, I would pay $10,000 in cash also to go back in time and have the Titans win Super Bowl 34, even if I did not attend.
The specific event also is a factor for me. I don't think I would pay that much for a Super Bowl. I think I would enjoy the game with friends in a setup, somewhere to watch enough to where I wouldn't need to feel like I've got to be at the game. But I feel like if it's in the stadium, if it's in your stadium, that's a factor for me. I I think I would pay more. That's where I would gravitate. Tell me I'm at Citi Field with the Mets fans going for a World Series. That's worth more money to me than the Super Bowl. Is that a factor for you guys?
Yes. Well,
Neutral site as opposed to in the stadium?
I think there is certainly something special about being in your home building, watching your favorite team win a championship. I understand that in college basketball, in college football, and in the NFL, it's a neutral site. Well, and sometimes in the NFL, there have been teams who have won the Super Bowl in their home stadium. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers did it with Tom Brady. I believe the Rams did it the first time, right? With the only time. Yep. Was the other way around?
Twice. Brady won in Tampa in 2020, and then the Rams won in Los Angeles in 2020.
Okay, so it has happened. It's rarely happened in the NFL, but it has happened. Yeah, I think you do have to factor that in. Michael in Madison says, I have not had the opportunity to even go to a championship deciding game, but I think $2,000 is my limit. One texter says, get this. In 2004, my grandfather paid $800 for us to see Red Sox versus Yankees in the ALCS. For the pair is insane. One of my favorite memories. Pat from Franklin. Now, that was not a championship game, but considering the stakes
and the teams involved, yes, these are great examples, right? Fenway Park for Red Sox Yankees. My gosh, just regular season game. That's worth quite a bit. So our budget is going to be very questionable here. If we're all budgeting around the same in the neighborhood of 1,000, I'm not sure we're going to get into the games we're talking about here.
Ryan says, I'd pay $3,000 a ticket in 2030 to see the Packers win the Super Bowl here in Nashville. $3,000 a ticket in 2030.
So Super Bowl, you're okay with that? Buying even though it's like, I don't know, it's a different kind of crowd at a Super Bowl. I love the atmosphere of like a real crowd. That's a big thing for me.
Absolutely.
I've been to a final. I've been to the finals. It was not a team. It was Louisville against Michigan. It was in Atlanta in the old Georgia Dome. 2013, I think it was. Louisville won. Rick Pitino, and it was a good atmosphere. But it was it was neutral court. It was a vast 75,000 people. It was a great spectacle, but it wasn't like. There's something about when it's one of the best game I ever saw in the Georgia Dome was Rick Pitino in Kentucky against Nolan Richardson and Arkansas in the SEC tournament. That was electric because it was packed, and they didn't use the whole dome. They only had about half the dome, but it was still 45,000 people, and it was one group of red fans, one group of blue fans, and they were going back and forth trying to win over the building. It was amazing to watch, and it was a great game.
One texter says, the most I've ever paid for a game is $3,000 a ticket to see Ohio State play Michigan when they were 1-2 in the country in 2006. The game the Buckeyes won 42-39. Chris says, I would overpay for a streaming service to watch on television. Money to watch regular season games is insane enough. Another texter says, my answer might have been different 20 years ago. With HD TV and 4K, I'd actually rather watch Miami win the CFP at my house. So you'd have to pay me. I mean, that.
I have wondered how many people feel that way. I've never paid anything close to $1,000 for a game. I don't believe. Now, the total cost to travel somewhere, maybe, if you factor that in for a trip. But for big games that I've been to, I have been lucky enough to have access to buy at face value, which doesn't tend to be quite that high, at least not yet.
One texter asks,
it's going that way though.
One texter is asking you if that was the Kevin Ware game. Well, Kevin Ware,
that was the Final Four.
Kevin Ware broke his leg against Duke. I remember that because Louisville went on to beat Duke.
It definitely wasn't that game. It was in that tournament.
Yeah,
earlier in the tournament.
I think that was in the regular season because I think it was at Cameron Indoor.
No, it was in the NCAA tournament.
Was it?
Okay. Yeah. I'll tell you why I remember that because I was watching that game with my dad. It was the 2013 NCAA tournament. And Kevin Ware, just a gruesome injury. And my dad turns to me and says, there's no way we're winning this game now. Like he knew as soon as Kevin Ware broke his leg, it's like, it's over. Louisville's going to rally around Kevin Ware. We're going to watch it, but I'm going to tell you what the outcome is. And that's exactly what happened. Oh, man, that feeds my dad's cynicism. 615-737-1025. The current get-in price for the World Cup final on Sunday. Spain versus Argentina at MetLife Stadium. $8,805. That is the current. I'm not making that up. The current get-in price, $8,805. How much would you pay or have you paid to see your favorite team attempt to win a championship? 615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction and more. Coming up next, again, that number, 615-737-1025. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Norfolk Tides. First pitch is at 6:35. Catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, Maple Street Biscuit Company, and Social Cantina. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan. The theme of today's show, musical theme, songs that remind me, Adam Vingan, of summer. And when I told my wife I was doing this, she recommended I play some LFO. So this is not my idea of summer, but, you know, I'm a wife guy. And I want
the lyric was in there
Yes.
about the summer.
Yes.
I just heard it.
It's called Summer Girls.
It's called Summer Girls
Yeah.
by LFO, which is short for Light Funky Ones. LYTE.
What year was that song?
That song,
It sounds super late 90s to me.
that song was released on June 29th, 1999.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch.
Oh, that's right. That's
yes,
the line.
Yes. There's a line in there that's like Bill Shakespeare wrote a lot of sonnets. They needed something that rhymed with another word, so that's what they went with. I mean, music in the 90s. Gotta love it. Let's go to our phone line driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com. Welcome. And Chris, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, guys. Happy Friday. I'm the only Kansas City Royals fan in town, I'm sure. I was watching the 2014 World Series, and I was like, I got to go if they ever go again. Lo and behold, the next year they make it. And I fly up to Kansas City on Southwest, get a cheap rental car and hotel room. And I was in the parking lot checking StubHub about an hour before the game. I'm about 8 rows behind home plate for $120. So kind of reverse of what you're talking about. But if you go alone and you wait it out, you can get in for a pretty decent price.
Impressive. Thank you,
Chris.
Chris.
That is a strategy. Patience is huge. Some people just want to know that they have the tickets, and they'll jump out there. They'll pay extra just to have it. Other people play that game, especially back in the day where the scalpers would actually be holding the tickets, right? They'd hold up, I've got 2, and you go over, you wheel and deal. That's too much. You go back to that same guy right after kickoff or right after tip-off and like, all right, $10 or whatever it is. I used to be able to walk into most Titans games unless they were really, really good. Of course, I live in East Nashville. So on occasion, just on a whim, we'd say, let's go. And I figured certain games you can get into the upper deck for $10 if you're willing to wait it out. Certain seasons for sure.
One time the SEC tournament was here. I was with my grandfather before he passed. We were looking, I think it was the opening night. It was either the Wednesday or the Thursday because Kentucky played the next day. And we found one of those guys on the street. I've got 3 for Kentucky tomorrow. I'm only charging $10 a piece. So my grandfather bought them, and we looked hours later, and they were tickets from like 2008. This was like 10 years later.
Wow.
One stunt, this is not the topic, but one stunt that my brother and I pulled, and it was not intentional. We didn't even realize this, but the Orlando Magic were playing, and I think they were playing Stockton and Malone in the Jazz.
Are we talking Shaq Penny Magic?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a hot ticket.
So good. Yeah, hot ticket. You know what? I don't know. It wasn't the great Magic teams. Maybe a little bit before. It might have been Shaq like first year kind of thing. So they weren't great yet. But we had tickets that were unused, but we realized when we got there, they were for the game before that was played like 2 nights earlier. So we had the wrong tickets from whoever our person was that was nice enough to say, hey, you guys want to go to the game? Sure. So we had to have the guts, the eye contact with the ticket taker. They didn't have the scanner back then. So you look the person in the eye, you smile. Hey, how you doing tonight? We handed over the 2 tickets. They ripped them up, handed them back the stub, and we were in. They never looked at the date to determine if it was the right night or not. So
nice.
And then we had to figure out, where do we sit? Because somebody else is going to have those seats. But we found a couple empties, and we enjoyed the night.
We should call you Rebellious Willie.
Yeah.
From now on.
I broke the law.
You did break the law. The reason we're talking about this is because the current get-in price for the World Cup final on Sunday between Spain and Argentina is $8,805. Again, $8,805, which led to our question, our fun summer question. How much would you pay or have you paid to see your favorite team attempt to win a championship? 615-737-1025. Let's go to John on our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com. John, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Okay, I got it. I'm an old guy. I'm 63 years old. It was in 1986. Tennessee had just beaten Miami in the Sugar Bowl. And it was opening season. It was opening game. We was playing New Mexico. Of course, you would think you'd be able to get a ticket pretty easy to watch and see Mexico. Ended up paying $100 for a student ticket. When I got to the gate, they wouldn't let me in because I wasn't a student.
Ooh.
Yeah.
In Mexico,
Yeah.
you had to get a student ticket? That's a weird thing.
Yeah, Tennessee had just beaten Miami 35-7 in the Sugar Bowl, and Johnny Majors was there.
I remember that game.
And I didn't know that, student tickets, you're thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna get one for $20. Well, I had to pay $100 for it, and they wouldn't even let me in the game when I got there. So
Oh no. What did you do? What'd you do?
I didn't get in. Me and my buddies, we went down to Cumberland. That's when Cumberland, was really kicking. So we just went to a bar and drank and had a big time after that. So that was all we could do.
Thank you for the call. One texter.
Heartbreak.
One texter says to me, what basketball player is referenced in the LFO song? I have the lyrics. Listen to these lyrics. Ready? Hip hop marmalade spick and span. Met you one summer and it all began. You're the best girl that I ever did see. The great Larry Bird, Jersey 33. When you take a sip, you buzz like a hornet. Billy Shakespeare wrote a whole bunch of sonnets.
Billy Shakespeare.
Billy Shakespeare wrote a whole bunch of sonnets and hornets. I mean, that's a tough a tough rhyme.
I don't know if that would pass the English major test if you turn that in.
It doesn't
your
beat the
Shakespeare
greatest
class.
rhyme of all time, which was created by T-Pain, and he rhymed mansion with Wisconsin.
A bit of a stretch. B-Man says, if the Titans were in the Super Bowl in 2030, which is when the Titans are hosting the Super Bowl, I would pay $4,000 max for 2 tickets anywhere in the new stadium, not a penny more. So B-Man says $4,000 for a pair of Super Bowl tickets if the Titans were in the Super Bowl at the new Nissan Stadium in 2030.
What do we think? Because it got up there. Stanley Cup final tickets at Bridgestone for the Penguins games we're going for. What do you think the most?
One texter says, I think my Stanley Cup final ticket in 2017 was like 200 something, but I am a season ticket holder.
But so that was just to get the tickets that you bought. I'm wondering in a secondary market what people were paying for those.
Specifically for, I would say, Game 3, the first game in Nashville. I wonder what people paid.
I'll bet for all 3 of the games it was pretty high.
Yeah.
You think it was probably over 1,000 to get in?
Yeah, I would say.
If not, 750 maybe.
If not 1,000, at least
Close.
pretty close. Our friend,
I'd love to if people remember that and somebody paid a ridiculous amount. I'd love to hear what you paid.
615-737-125. Our friend Hair Metal Henry says, back in the 80s when absolutely no one went to Vanderbilt football games, one of the ticket takers in the end zone where the Marriott is now, a client of my dad would take 2 matchbooks, rip the matches out of them, and hand them the empty matchbooks that looked like tickets, and the guy would let us in.
I have been at more than one Vanderbilt game where it wasn't matchbooks, but there were people that were just Vanderbilt fans that had extra tickets, and they just wanted somebody to use the ticket. And so if you had a Vanderbilt shirt on and you're just working your way around the stadium looking around, there were more than one time where I would be handed tickets. Hey, you want to go? I nobody's using these. You want to go? Just so somebody from the other team didn't have another fan in there.
One texter says,
the matchbook is a nice idea, though.
The Game 3 and Game 6, I sold my game for finals tickets for $1,500 tickets, 2 tickets, and I paid for the entire playoff run from that season.
So went to Game 4.
The texter says, I attended Games 3 and Game 6.
Oh, attended Game.
So he sold his tickets for Game 4 for $1,500.
Okay. Hopefully to another Predator fan and not to a Penguins fan, but it's all good.
One texter said, let's see, I bought 2 extra seats and sold them for each game in the lower bowl, was getting $6,000 a seat the entire round.
6,000?
That's what Paul says on our text line. 6,000.
Wow. That's up there.
See, like, as much as if someone said to me, even if someone said to me, Adam, I've got you courtside seats for the national championship game, Duke versus whoever. They're yours. You're the only person I'm going to sell them to. I'll sell them to you for $6,000. There's no like, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Would you feel different if you had way more disposable income? Because that's what normal people I think would answer like you answer, as much as a diehard as you are.
Right. Like you,
but if you've got a ton of money, all these celebrities, right? And it's nothing for you to shell out $6,000 or $8,000.
Well, let me
it's different, right?
For all of these people who have come to North America to watch the World Cup, if you're a Spain fan or an Argentina fan and you've been following them around the country
for 35 days or
for
whatever.
a month plus, how much money just in tickets do you think you spent?
I would love to know. I have heard some announcers mention that factor because it's amazing to watch the sea of people for all these countries that have advanced deep into the tournament. And you do wonder, is it a revolving door of some fans go out and new people come in, or are there some people that have literally been here for 39 days? Or if you played on day one and you play on the last day, that's 39 days?
Thereabouts. I would love to know how much.
Like, that's got to be. And
that's like life-saving stuff.
Yeah. Unless you're staying with a relative or something and you're not paying for any hotels, but just flying around to the different cities where your team's playing. I'm sure it's strategic in some cases where you're going to pick one or two games to go to and you're just gathering with other fans to watch the other games. That's fascinating to me because that's a commitment. We talk about it with the college football playoff. It's a commitment. It was something that always sort of held people back from a tournament. Like, why would you expect fans who you go to the SEC championship game maybe, and then you go to a bowl game? And now you're trying to budget for maybe SEC championship game and then 3 or 4 games for the playoffs.
Like, if you're
a huge amount of financial commitment.
If you're a Miami football fan,
that's a good example.
Last year, you went to Texas A&M, you went to the Cotton Bowl, you went to the Fiesta Bowl, and then you went to the national championship game.
I mean, that's got to run $10,000, right?
At least.
And that's just for maybe one person.
Plus flights and hotels
and
stuff.
Hotels,
but we're just talking about the actual ticket.
Yeah.
Miami was the 10th seed in the college football playoff. The Hurricanes went to Texas A&M and won. Then went to the Cotton Bowl and beat Ohio State. Then went to the Fiesta Bowl and beat Ole Miss. And then lost in Miami to Indiana. So I can't even imagine. But I just, again.
It is a phenomenon, though, how much, for at least a certain amount of people, being there in person, even if you're not in a great seat, is that valuable to you rather than watch it at a watch party, even if you're with a crowd or in your home with all of the amenities that you can surround yourself with your friends, refreshments, all of that, big screen TVs. Isn't it amazing that it's bigger than it's ever been, even with all the technology that we've got watching games?
615-737-1025. Again, our summer topic of the day, in honor of the World Cup get-in price for the final being nearly $9,000. How much would you pay or have you paid to see your favorite team attempt to win a championship? 615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction and wrap up the week. Coming up next, Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
All right, let's talk Twice Daily. Remember, it's Friday, and you got a big weekend ahead. You have a lot of plans. Remember, if you are a member of Twice Daily's rewards program, all of the benefits that you get with that. If you join that Twice Daily Rewards program, you get the special discounts. You're going to save money, earn points every time you go and visit Twice Daily. They've got all of your needs taken care of. If you need to figure out dinner, if you need to figure out bringing something to a gathering you're going to at a friend's house and you got to grab some sodas, some beers, whatever, Twice Daily has got you. And if you're a member of that rewards program, you're going to benefit from that. So make Twice Daily be your spot for these occasions. When the day's moving fast, you got to pick up something quick. Twice Daily has you covered. It's Twice Daily, fresh all day.
D-Mace, Vingan and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you, wrapping up the week. Derek Mason started his vacation today. He'll be off next week. Willie Donick also out next week. So DVD next week will be yours truly, Connor Newt, and Brandon Bigsby producing the show. Looking forward to it. And one thing we're going to do next week, as we prepare for Titans training camp throughout the week, we're going to have different Titans reporters in studio with us to help us preview Titans training camp. On Monday, we're going to have Nick Suss of the Tennessean. Tuesday, Terry McCormick. Thursday, Easton Freeze. Friday, Teron Davenport. And each time they'll be on for the 4 o'clock hour. So from 4 to 5 throughout next week, we're still looking for someone for Wednesday if you're a Titans reporter listening. We will have a Titans reporter with us in studio to help us preview training camp. Next week, of course, is also SEC Media Day, so we'll definitely get into some SEC football. I'm hoping Clark Lee will join the program next week. He'll be at SEC Media Days, of course. It would be great to talk to our friend Clark Speaking of Vanderbilt football, one texter says, I'd like to know what Willie would pay to see Vanderbilt football in the national championship game.
I might have to increase the budget for that. I would be willing to. I would be willing to go to some great lengths for that. Now, with my current job, there's no telling where on the map the Predators could be on given night. It's disappointing sometimes. It's usually a Monday night, right? That are the national title game is played. It seems like about half the time, even though the Predators don't usually play on Monday, it seems like we're in Canada and playing the Maple Leafs or something. I'm like, the national title? You really want to do this tonight? Come on. Don't schedule games when the national championship's going on. If the Predators are on, if the Commodores are playing in the national title football game, or for that matter, the basketball game for the title, you talk about some serious multitasking. I don't know how I would call the game.
Well,
if I had a day off to get to wherever the game was and get back, would I do a planes, trains, and automobiles kind of thing? I might.
One texter says, I'm not a tattoo person at all, but if the Preds won the Stanley Cup, I'm getting a huge tattoo of the logo and cup somewhere on me. To add to that, if the Preds return to the Cup final, I'd probably spend $2,000 maximum for a single ticket to a single game in the finals. Bump it up to $3,000 if the Predators are in a potential cup clinching game. Embrace the tattoos, I say. As someone who has 8, they're a lot of fun.
I think it's interesting to track, depending on what stage of life you're in. Are you raising a family? Are you empty nester? Are you single? Or how would you answer the question at one stage of life as opposed to maybe a previous stage? 15 or 20 years ago? Has your answer changed a lot? I find that interesting.
The one thing you do not want to do, you do not want to get the premature championship tattoo. There have been some awful examples of fans being so confident in their team that they preemptively get the championship tattoo. And it
doesn't age well.
It does not work out. For example, I'm looking at a tattoo, Dallas Cowboys World Champs 2015. Pittsburgh Pirates World Series Champs 2015. I'm looking at these unfortunate
Pittsburgh
tattoos.
Pirates 2015?
Yes, Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pittsburgh Pirates, of course, did not win the World Series in 2015. But the fan was so confident. I'm going to do it.
I don't know why that Pittsburgh fan was confident. I don't remember them being contenders in 2015.
You're asking the wrong guy.
I finessed. I was very nice to the Royals fan who went to Kansas City to watch his Royals beat my Mets in that World Series.
Of course. How could we?
Didn't want to ruin his moment or make it about me.
As a Cardinals fan, it took everything in me to even let him on the air. So.
One texter says, Preds don't play on CFP title Monday this year, Willie. They have a home game the night after.
All right. And the title game is where?
I have no idea.
Do we know off the top of our head?
I think
Pasadena?
Houston, I want to say.
Let's say the 2027 CFP title game.
Might be Los Angeles.
Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas.
In Vegas.
Monday, January 25th, 2027. Direct flights from here to Vegas.
We can dream.
Red eye, my friend. Red eye to Vegas.
Let's cross that bridge when we come to it, but
that's Coach Willie.
I've got the open mind.
That's Coach Willie talking. Willie, you're going on vacation next week. What do you have planned for your vacation?
Well, we're going up to New England. We do a lot of family up that way, so we'll be doing our thing up there.
Very nice.
A little Red Sox game in the
kids coming too?
Mix. Oh yeah, of course.
Always great to spend some time with the kids. I'm sure
cousins, aunts, uncles, a lot of that.
That'll be great.
I'll make you a promise. The day you come back, you will have music, and you will have it twice that week.
Oh,
I promise.
Isn't this great?
Okay.
Mark
your calendars.
Let's hope there's no more lightning strikes in between now and then. So
in
we
fact,
don't get off.
It'll be no Adam. So you, me, and D-Mace will rotate.
Okay.
Yes, the week that you and Derek return to the airwaves, I'm off that week.
Okay.
So
even easier to get the two-day weekend.
You and D-Mace will both have
That's
it
better
twice.
than your
I'll go
fantasy
once.
baseball starting pitcher having two starts that week. Having music 2 days a week.
I get the sense that you think I'm this
manipulating.
I was going to say Machiavellian.
That was a quick response, Willie.
Which might be a synonym for manipulative. No, I keep tabs on who's responsible for what. My point was on Wednesday, it was, I think, Tuesday night, right? Tuesday night is when the lightning struck the station. That Wednesday, it was supposed to be my day on music. And for 2 days, we did not have the capabilities to play the music. So I was just picking up where we left off.
We were in rain delay. It just prolonged.
We had to freeze the competition.
Yes.
Okay.
So I know you were a little sour about it.
I was a little bit skeptical.
I know you were a little bit sour.
I was promised two shows this week of music. But
well, Connor has told you upon your return from vacation, you will get plenty. You will get plenty of DJ time, as we have been discussing. Sort of. The World Cup final is on Sunday. Argentina versus Spain, 2 p.m. on Fox. I'll probably watch some of it. I'll probably tune in near the end if it's close. I'm not sure I'm going to be watching it from start to finish, but I will keep an eye on the World Cup final. What about you?
Oh, we're going to be all in. We're going to be watching start to finish. I would say it's going to be a great game. The spectacle again, the pageantry, just the energy. I'm all over it. I'm excited. Got to go for the Spaniards, the Spanish heritage in the Donick family.
Would you go as far as this headline on ESPN.com, quote, Messi is the best player at the World Cup and the best male athlete of all time?
Best male athlete of all time if they win?
No, the headline says the World Cup seals it. This World Cup seals it. Messi is the greatest male athlete the world has ever seen. That was written yesterday.
Ooh, that it's interesting that comes up at the end of the show because I think that
it was. I'm sorry, it published this morning. It could
be a full show worth of debate on who you think the best athletes in the world are. Messi has got a case. There's no question, but I hesitate before I just say, "Oh yeah."
I would say non-American.
I mean, I think Messi has a good
I
enough
have to
case.
defer to the soccer historians that he would be the best soccer. Do we think that's even disputed now?
According to my source, named Nick Frazier, he is the greatest of all time.
Okay.
Regardless
He's
of
played
sport.
in our city, Mr. Messi.
This story says, we've already established that Messi is a lot better than the next best player of the modern era of the sport. In the major American sports, there isn't any man who has a bigger gap between himself and the next best guy than Messi does.
Okay. That's a good argument.
In the NFL, Tom Brady won a record 7 Super Bowls and was still a superstar into his 40s, but he won only 3 MVP awards. 2 other quarterbacks from Brady's own generation, Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning, won more. In the NBA, the debate over Michael Jordan and LeBron has been fueling the basketball economy for more than a decade.
Yes.
And in MLB, you'll hear reasonable arguments for Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, and Shohei Ohtani. Instead, the closest thing to Messi-like undisputed dominance comes in the NHL, where Wayne Gretzky still holds claim to the most incredible individual record in sports. Gretzky scored 894 goals in his career, the second most all time. But if Gretzky never scored a single goal, he would still have more combined goals and assists than anyone else in NHL history.
I mean, that's the stat that always blows people's minds. Still hard to believe that that's still the case. But
I think if you're using that as the barometer, that the gap between Messi and the next best player in soccer is wider than any other major sport, again, I would defer to the soccer purists out there, but that seems like a reasonable argument.
I would be willing to sit in on a debate of a really good argument on that topic. I mean, bring to the table, let's bring Jim Brown in there, or whoever you think are the best. Like when the NFL Network did the greatest players of all time, Jim Brown was the number 1 player, right? Now he won a championship, but he didn't win that many. His team wasn't always great. He was super dominant. So bring to the table whatever football players you want to bring in, Jordan, LeBron, in basketball, Gretzky, and then Messi. I would just love to hear a good debate. Train people to make arguments.
Connor, maybe that's something we do next week.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
I like that.
Okay.
Bring Frazier in to argue for Messi.
That's a possibility.
I don't know if he would. I don't know. because we've had conversations like this before, and he's a big Michael Jordan guy.
I would say Shohei Ohtani is making a run. Like he's far from done, but what he is doing while playing for a great team, and now he's accumulated a couple rings here.
I agree.
He's just the uniqueness of being a two-way player and dominating the way he does. Messi's arc is going back to what was his first World Cup? What was his first World Cup? Early 2000s? How many?
I think it was 06.
06 or 2010, something like that. It's a long career.
Maybe we will pick up this conversation next week, but that'll do it for us today and this week. We had a wonderful time. We hope you did as well. Willie, have a wonderful vacation. We will miss you. Willie will be out next week, as will Derek Mason, who's already out today, already getting a head start on that vacation. Connor Newt and I will be co-hosting the program next week. Brandon Bigsby will be producing. Again, we'll have a lot of fun looking ahead to Titans training camp. We'll have Titans reporters in studio with us all week, starting with Nick Suss of the Tennessean on Monday. Terry McCormick, Easton Freeze, and Teron Davenport will join us throughout the week. SEC Media Days next week as well in Tampa. A lot of discussion on college football as well. On behalf of Derek Mason, who is not here to say this, be loved, love on your people, have a wonderful, restful weekend. Willie, have a wonderful vacation. And when we're back on the air Monday at 3, Connor, we'll be talking.
You'll be listening.
That's right. Peace. Have a wonderful weekend.